Hi, David DeSerto here from Castletown Media. Is Marvel Studios' Thunderbolts marvelous or a misfire? Find out on this installment of The Catholic Lens. Some people might think I'm overthinking it, but Thunderbolts, yes, a superhero flick, has been on my mind. Before you write it off as mere escapist entertainment, hear me out. Sometimes popcorn movies hide kernels of truth. If you follow this channel, click subscribe if you haven't, you know I've been pretty down on Disney lately. From Mufasa the Lion King to Moana 2, Snow White, even Captain America Brave New World. Just one disappointment after another. So I'm thrilled to report that Disney, via Marvel Studios, finally got one right. It may be the best Marvel film since Avengers Endgame, reigniting my interest in a cinematic universe that had lost serious momentum. And it's helping pave the way for upcoming titles like Fantastic Four and the next Avengers installments, Doomsday in 2026 and Secret Wars in 2027. How'd they do it? Simple. Director Jake Schreier went back to what made early Marvel great. Less CGI spectacle, though there's enough, more hope, heart, humor, and humanity. I believe it's why audiences have responded so positively. It works because it gives us characters we can actually care about. And all without any of Marvel's heavy hitter heroes. No radioactive web-slingers, Sorcerer Supreme, Green Rage monsters, or Norse gods of thunder. No, the thunder here is supplied by a JV squad of ragtag anti-heroes who call themselves the Thunderbolts, self-described as disposable delinquents, a dirty half-dozen, if you will. The team includes Florence Pugh's world-weary assassin, Yelena Belova, her dad, David Harbour's Soviet super soldier, Red Guardian, Wyatt Russell's Captain America wannabe, U.S. agent, and Lewis Pullman as a mysterious newcomer, Bob. They're up against Project Sentry, a secret government initiative to genetically engineer the ultimate contingency plan in a world of superpowered threats. And, of course, things go haywire. Sebastian Stan returns as Bucky Barnes, a.k.a. Winter Soldier, now a U.S. congressman, and Julie Louis-Dreyfus brings delicious sleaze as Valentina Allegra Desfontaine, Project Sentry's puppet master, whose line, "Righteousness without power is only an opinion," succinctly summarizes how relativists reduce morality to the politics of power. One of my biggest gripes with recent Marvel films is how convoluted they've become. You practically need a PhD in the intricately interconnected franchises to follow them. Not so here. Thunderbolts stands more or less alone. The uninitiated might miss a few plot references and Easter eggs, but you won't feel completely lost. The team members are all flawed and broken, but not in a cynical way. They're on journeys toward redemption. You could say it flips the cynical line from Christopher Nolan's Batman opus, The Dark Knight, to a more hopeful, you either die a villain or live long enough to become the hero. But unlike the somewhat similar Suicide Squad from Marvel's comic book competitor DC, you actually root for this bunch of misfits. Now, for parents, be advised, there's some strong violence, mature themes, subtle drug references, and sporadic crude language and profanity, including taking the Lord's name in vain. Not for children. But for teens, the film opens the door to surprisingly resonant themes for Catholics. Marvel has largely ignored religion, save for Cap's line in Avengers,
"There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that."
But while Thunderbolts doesn't reference God directly, it explores spiritual emptiness and the deeper search for meaning. The film opens with Yelena teetering on an edge, literally, confessing she feels empty. "There's something wrong with me," she says, experiencing boredom with existence, grappling with depression and trauma from her violent past, adrift without any sense of purpose or meaning. Even the adrenaline rush of her covert missions, which she uses to anesthetize herself, to use a word from Pope Francis, against her inner desolation, no longer does the trick. In a moment of emotional honesty, she sums up what her life has become, a downward spiral of nihilism and dwelling on regrets. "I scroll on my phone, drink, and think of all the terrible things I've done." An all too painfully real description of the existential angst and ennui felt by many in our restless culture. What does she desire? To feel a father's love, a desire that echoes our deepest need to be known, forgiven, and loved. Her last name, Belova, evokes beloved. She's a prodigal daughter who's gone off to far countries and done bad things, but she wants to come home. And this is the film's real battle, not some CGI set piece in New York or Wakanda, but a battle in the human soul. Some critics have rightfully pointed out how the movie uses the conventions of the superhero genre to tackle the serious issues of mental health and depression. But I would go even further, saying it cuts deeper to the heart of our spiritual brokenness, woundedness, and need for healing. Sure, it plays out in a way more expressive of Jungian psychology than Christianity, with the villain being an embodiment of one of the character's shadow, to use an archetype from Jung. But in having the team literally venture into the personal pain and darkness of a character to save him and humanity, armed only with compassion and empathy, it allegorically echoes the heart of the Christian story. Christ does not leave us alone in our pain and anguish. He definitively entered our darkness, our brokenness, even descending into hell to save us, to demonstrate his love for us and not leave us alone. He didn't overcome darkness and evil through the strength of arms, which proves ineffective in this film as well, but through self-sacrificial love, the ultimate superpower. The climax also illustrates the very Catholic idea that we are saved together, as a community of love, as opposed to the understanding of some Protestant traditions that salvation is an individual effort. This is visually driven home in a terrific moment of the Thunderbolts literally bearing a burden together. Ultimately, Yelena's search for purpose leads her to realize the answer is not, as her dad initially suggests, by seeking personal glory, but as Saint Pope John Paul II observed, the more ready you are to give of yourself, the more you discover the authentic meaning of life. In a culture drifting in nihilism, Thunderbolts dares to suggest redemption and hope are possible. It reminded me of another restless soul searching for meaning who, struck by a figurative thunderbolt in the form of a child's voice commanding him, Tolle Lege, went on to write, "Our hearts are restless until they rest in thee." Overthinking things? Perhaps. But like I said, even popcorn movies can, occasionally, hide some kernels worth chewing on. Until next time, I'm David DeSerto, and this is The Catholic Lens. Don't miss a single episode of The Catholic Lens. Follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and for full videos of our film reviews, subscribe to Castletown Media on YouTube. Stay connected and join the conversation in the comments.